Before we start, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, can you please tell me where and what time you're watching? Thanks. I never thought I'd end up in Fresno, much less the East Side. That wasn't part of any plan I ever had. Life was stable in Sacramento. I had a small studio near Midtown, a list of reliable clients who liked my graphic design work, and a rhythm that made sense. Rent was high, but I managed. Coffee shops on every block, friends I could call last minute, and just enough distance from family to breathe. I wasn't running from anything, but I wasn't ready to take anything on either. But all that shifted when Micah got hit. My little brother, 17, bright, full of sarcasm and energy. He was walking home from school when some drunk idiot in a silver pickup swerved off the road and pinned him against a fence. Fractured his left leg in 2 places, tore up his knee pretty bad. Our mom couldn't leave her job in Oregon, and Dad's been a ghost since I was 11. So it fell on me. No debate. No delay. I packed up, broke my lease, and moved into a month-to-month rental off Kings Canyon Road. It wasn't awful. Not at first. Just quieter. Strip malls, lots of closed-up businesses, chain-link fences sagging in the wind. My neighbors didn't talk much, and the streetlights blinked out half the time. My car, with its Sacramento plates and clean exterior, stood out like a fresh pair of shoes in a thrift store. People stared, but not in a curious way, more like they were making a mental note. I worked from the kitchen table, designed logos and ad banners while reheating leftovers and texting with clients who thought I was still in Sacramento. Micah mostly stayed in bed, binging anime and playing games. He was healing, but the boredom was getting to him. That Thursday night around 8 Rao, he asked me for a cheap headset. His broke, and he wanted to hop on with his friends. I almost said no. I was tired. But then I looked at his leg in the brace and the dark circles under his eyes. I grabbed my keys, pulled a 20 from the junk drawer, and headed out. Family Dollar was 5 minutes away. The parking lot was mostly empty. A single car with one flickering headlight sat 2 spaces over. I glanced at it, made a mental note, and kept walking. Inside, it was what you'd expect. Half-stocked shelves, fluorescent lighting that hummed above like mosquitoes in your ear, and a pop song playing low over the speakers. The electronics section was shoved in the back. Cheap off-brand earbuds, wall chargers, a dusty Bluetooth speaker. I crouched to grab the last wired headset on the bottom shelf. As I stood up, I noticed the guy next to me, tall, maybe early 40s, thin build, faded leather jacket, jeans stained at the knees. His breath smelled like cigarettes and something else, mildew maybe. He wasn't looking at the shelf. He was watching me, no blinking, no expression, just watching. I didn't say anything, just turned and made my way to the front. The cashier looked about my age, buzzed haircut, bored eyes, headphones around his neck. As he rang me up, he glanced behind me. "You good?" I leaned in, kept my voice low. "Think someone's following me. Tall guy, back aisle. Can you just watch when I leave?" He nodded. "Yeah, I'll lock the doors right after." I paid and walked fast to my car, keys tight in my hand. As I reversed, I looked back at the storefront. The man was there, standing just behind the glass, watching. At home, I microwaved some frozen burritos and checked on Micah. He was fine, laughing at something on his screen. I settled on the couch, feet tucked under me, TV low. At 11:23 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number, no profile picture, just a text. "Nice headset. You always go cheap." My stomach dropped. I hadn't told anyone I went. Didn't post online. Micah didn't even know I bought one. I didn't respond. Blocked the number. Told myself it was a scam. The next night, another message. Different number. "Your porch light's out." I looked. The bulb above the door was flickering. The third message hit harder. "That red hoodie suits you better than the blue one." I wore that red hoodie out to the trash around 6 almost p.m. Just for a minute. I hadn't seen anyone. That was it. I called the police. I explained everything. The store, the man, the texts. The officer was polite but distant. Unless there's a direct threat or trespassing, there's not much we can do. Could be spoofed numbers, burners, keep your lights on, file a report. It wasn't enough. I swapped the porch bulb for a floodlight, bought blackout curtains, a motion sensor from Home Depot, slept with my car keys under my pillow and a kitchen knife in reach. For a few days, it was quiet. I let myself breathe. Then, late one night, I saw a car idling across the street, lights off, engine running, one dim headlight, same shape, same spot, same gut feeling. He didn't get out, didn't move, just sat there. 20 minutes passed before he pulled off. Next morning, I went back to Family Dollar, daytime, just to look. The cashier saw me and leaned in. He's been back, couple times, doesn't buy anything. Last time he asked if we sold pepper spray. Pepper spray? I asked. Yeah, said he wanted to feel safe, but he wasn't laughing. I filed a second report that afternoon. This time I didn't wait. I packed a bag, drove Micah across town to stay with our cousin Jay. The house was too quiet after that. I couldn't sleep. Not really. The texts stopped. That should have been a relief. But silence is worse sometimes. I kept checking the cameras, kept looking over my shoulder. I jumped every time the motion light came on. A raccoon once triggered it around 3 a.m., and I stayed awake till dawn. I never saw the man again. But I never really stopped seeing him. I still freelance, still take care of Micah, but I don't shop alone at night. I don't open messages from unknown numbers. I trust my instincts no matter how irrational they feel, because once someone takes your sense of safety, it's hard to get it back. Not every threat is loud. Some creep in with quiet persistence, worming into your daily life until fear becomes routine. I don't know when it started. I definitely don't know when it ended. But I do know this. Sometimes, the scariest thing isn't the person following you. It's realizing how easy it is to be watched. How little it takes for someone to find you. How quickly ordinary can turn into something else entirely. How do you know when someone stops watching? Or worse, how do you know they ever stopped at all? They say everything changes in a moment. I don't know if that's true. For me, everything changed over years. Slow, aching years that carved the shape of my life like water against rock. When people talk about grief, they talk about impact, sudden loss. But there's another kind, the kind that builds under your feet like soft erosion. You don't even realize what you're standing on is crumbling until it's gone. I used to tell myself I was strong because I kept going. Through the divorce, through the eviction, through nights with no power and a daughter too young to understand why mommy cried in the shower. Taylor was 5 when her dad left. No note, just a final argument and the sound of his car backing out at midnight. I didn't chase him. I locked the door and laid beside her, curled up on her tiny twin mattress, whispering that it would be okay, even though I wasn't sure. We moved into a 2-bedroom apartment on the rougher end of South Arlington. The kind where neighbors screamed at each other through paper-thin walls, and kids played in cracked parking lots while their parents worked too many jobs. I stocked shelves at Family Dollar, took extra shifts, worked holidays. Taylor learned how to microwave meals by the time she was 8. She'd sit at the table doing homework while I ironed my uniform shirt, trying not to wrinkle it more than it already was. 5 years passed like that. Me grinding, her growing. I kept telling myself it would be worth it, that if I just kept pushing, kept saving, something would break in our favor. When I finally got that assistant manager badge, I held it like it meant something more than a raise. It meant I could stop borrowing from my sister. It meant I could breathe, if only a little. It meant Taylor could maybe go to college without wondering if the lights would stay on. Taylor was 17 last fall. Smarter than me, braver too. Stubborn in a way that could either change the world or ruin her. She was taller than me now, wore her hair short like a dare. She had a mouth on her, sharp and quick, and sometimes it made me smile when I shouldn't have. But she had fight. God, she had so much fight. And I told myself, even when I failed at everything else, I gave her that. Her first job was at the Kenmore Boulevard Family Dollar. I vouched for her, called in a favor with a manager friend, told them she was dependable. She'd seen what it meant to work hard. She knew responsibility. I made sure she'd be safe. I thought I did. Then came Thomas Rainey. Mid-40s, sagging eyes, a voice that always hovered too close. He worked part-time at my store for 6 months before I had to fire him. First it was vape pens going missing, then a whole shipment short. I caught him on the cameras, took it up with corporate, wrote him up the first time, walked him out the second. He didn't argue, just smiled that crooked smile and said, "You know I always liked you, Miss Moore." I thought that was the end of it. 2 weeks later, Taylor mentioned him, said he'd been coming into her store. Just browsing, she told me, didn't buy anything. Smiled weird, said something about how she looked too young to be working nights. I felt it then, that deep, bone-cold chill of something not right. I called her manager, explained the situation. He said he'd keep an eye out, but there was nothing actionable, no threats, no contact, just a guy shopping. I told her to ask for morning shifts. She pushed back, said I was overreacting. I didn't tell her I'd already put in a request to switch her schedule myself. I figured I'd give it a week, let her feel in control. I didn't want to be the mother who smothered. God knows she'd been through enough already. But fear doesn't wait for permission. It creeps in through the cracks while you're trying to do the right thing. I remember that Wednesday, February 7th. The sky was a dull white, the kind of color that makes everything look colorless. Snow piles had turned to black slush, refrozen into jagged heaps. I had just finished inventory at my store, the safe was locked, and I should have gone home an hour earlier. But I stayed. Something felt off. I texted Taylor 3 times. No response. I called. Voicemail. My chest felt tight. Not panic yet, but close. I told my shift lead I had to run an errand. Didn't wait for approval. I just left. Drove fast. Faster than I should have on icy roads. I rehearsed what I'd say. Probably nothing serious. Probably just forgot her phone. But the closer I got, the worse the silence felt. When I turned the corner onto Kenmore, I saw the flashing lights. Police cars, yellow tape, bystanders clustered with phones in hand. My foot slammed the brake. The seatbelt cut across my chest like a slap. I threw the door open before the car fully stopped. I ran, slipped, caught myself on a stranger's bumper. I was screaming her name before I even got to the tape. An officer blocked me. Another stepped in, younger, more careful. Asked who I was, asked her name. They didn't let me inside, just led me around the building, past the dumpsters, to where he was, Thomas Rainey, on his knees, hands cuffed, blood on his face. He didn't look at me, didn't even flinch. I saw the stretcher, the white sheet. My legs gave out before I could scream. The next hours were a blur, police questions, family showing up. My sister holding me like I was going to shatter. I don't remember who told me she was gone, I just remember cold. People think grief is loud, but it's not. It's quiet. It's questions. Why didn't I push harder? Why didn't I drive her that day? Why did I let her go back in? Was pride worth that? The funeral was small. A few co-workers, classmates. Her English teacher read a poem. My hand never left my sister's. Taylor looked too small in that casket. Too young. I couldn't go back to the store. They offered me time off. Said the position was still mine. But I couldn't walk in. Couldn't stand in that break room without seeing her name tag on my desk. I started cleaning houses. Quiet work. No uniforms. No customers. No teenagers to protect. I still check the locks 3 times a night. I still flinch when a phone buzzes. I still keep Taylor's name tag on my dresser, facing up. The letters faded now. Sometimes I think I hear her laugh, but it's always the silence after that breaks me. She was brave. Braver than I ever was. But I wish I taught her that being scared isn't weakness, that listening to the fear is sometimes what saves you. If you're a parent, if you love someone, do you know when to step in? Or do you tell yourself they'll figure it out? At what point does letting go become the mistake you can't take back? There's this lie people like to tell themselves, that the internet forgets, that a viral moment fades just like any other, buried beneath the avalanche of the next meme, the next scandal, the next face. But they don't tell you what happens when your name stops trending but your face doesn't. When you're no longer a person but a punchline waiting to be recognized. I was 17 when it happened to me, and it never really stopped happening. It was a video. Just me dancing behind the Family Dollar where I worked after school. One of those dumb little things kids do when they think no one's watching. Headphones in, doing this awkward little shuffle while taking a break next to the dumpsters. The sky was gray. My name tag was half hanging off. The person filming? Parked across the lot in a car, hidden behind tinted glass. The caption? When retail breaks your brain. 10 million views by the end of the week, 1,000 comments, all of them cruel. I became the joke of the moment, the sad girl shaking her hips next to garbage. The names came fast, the parking lot freak, crackhead cashier, dumpster diva. No one said my real name, but it didn't matter. People started pointing in the store. Some just laughed. Others pulled out phones to see if I'd do it again. I deleted everything. Instagram, Snapchat, my email, stopped answering texts. I moved schools halfway through senior year and still barely made it to graduation. But somehow I stayed at that same Family Dollar. I told myself it was familiar, that the people had already seen me at my worst, so there was no more pretending to do. But the truth was simpler. I had nowhere else to go. By 25, I had faded almost completely. I worked the evening shift most days, wore my hair down to hide my face, and learned how to disappear between shelves. Customers didn't see me unless they needed something. Coworkers knew not to ask about the past. I lived with my mom in a cramped 2-bedroom near 3rd Street. We didn't talk much, paid bills, shared leftovers, and drifted in and out of each other's space like ghosts. It was a Thursday in early October. One of those brittle evenings when the wind slides through the cracks in your jacket and the sunset stains everything a little too orange. The store was almost empty. I was counting the till when the bell above the door rang. I looked up and there he was again, the man in the gray vest. He looked like someone's uncle, mid-40s, maybe older. Short beard, soft jaw, thinning hair. He always came in around the same time, bought odd things. Cans of soup, sinus meds, flashlight batteries. Things people grab when they don't plan to stick around. I'd noticed him before. Noticed how he lingered near the doors too long. How he never made eye contact with the cameras. That night he came straight to the counter. No wandering, no looking. Just tomato bisque and a plastic flashlight in hand. "Evenin'," he said, nodding. Then, "You always wear your hair down." I blinked. "What?" "Your hair. Just wondered if it ever goes up. You've got one of those faces. Would be ashamed to hide it." I didn't respond. Just scanned the items, gave the total. He paid in exact change. When I handed him the receipt, his fingers brushed mine. "Just a little longer than normal." Then he said it, quietly. "You don't remember me, do you?" Something in his voice made my stomach turn. I looked at him. He smiled like we were in on something together. "Gas station out by the high school. You used to work there, right? Few years back." "I've only worked here," I said, steady as I could. He chuckled, too quick. "Huh, guess I've got the wrong girl." He left. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I tried to brush it off, told myself he just made an honest mistake. Customers confuse faces all the time. But that night when my mom picked me up, I saw his green pickup parked across the street. No lights, just sitting there, half hidden behind a newspaper box, waiting. He didn't come in the next few nights. I kept pretending not to look for him through the windows. I told myself I wasn't scared, just careful. Tuesday evening, I walked my old shortcut behind the closed-down clinic, a narrow alleyway with overgrown weeds and busted lights. That's when I saw the truck again. Tucked between a dumpster and a brick wall, engine off, driver's side window half open. He didn't move, just sat there with his hand dangling outside the door, staring, watching. I didn't stop, didn't look back, just kept walking until I hit the main road where the cars passed steady and loud. I didn't say a word to my mom. What could I even tell her? The next shift, he came back. The line was long with folks stocking up on Halloween candy. He waited, then chose my line even though 2 others were open. "You look tired," he said, placing cold burritos and sinus meds on the counter. "Not sleeping?" I didn't meet his eyes. "Do you need a bag?" We used to talk more than this. "No," I said sharply. We didn't. His eyes flinched, just a second, then relaxed again. Memory's funny. Sometimes it needs a little jolt. He paid and left. I went straight to my manager after, asked to switch shifts. She frowned. "Schedules are full until the end of the month. He's just a customer, Shell. You're quiet. People like that sometimes talk to quiet folks. Makes them feel safe." Safe. That word rolled around in my head until it didn't make sense anymore. 2 days later, he came in again. This time, he didn't buy anything. Just walked up and placed a gas station coffee cup on the counter, still warm. "Thought you might need this." I shook my head. "I can't accept that." He raised his hands. "No strings, just something warm. Cold tonight." I waited until he left, then dumped the coffee straight down the mop sink. I tried again with my manager. Told her it wasn't about politeness anymore, that I was starting to feel unsafe. "If it escalates, we'll report it," she said flatly. "Right now, it's awkward, not illegal." Awkward, like my fear was a glitch in social code, not a warning sign. I left that night and saw his truck in our own parking lot this time, 1 row over, pretending to scroll through his phone. I stayed inside until 2 coworkers left and walked out with them. He was gone, but something inside me had cracked wide open. The next morning I opened the store. Shipment was late. I was already tired, halfway through a vending machine muffin on my break when I opened my locker. That's when I saw the note. Folded, tucked neatly behind my name badge. Just 1 sentence. "I know what it feels like to be watched. You were never alone." I couldn't breathe. My knees buckled. I didn't finish my shift, didn't clock out, just left. My legs carried me home like I wasn't part of them. I sat on the couch with every light on. My mom came in late and asked if I was sick. "I'm quitting," I said. She didn't ask why, just nodded like she already knew I was done pretending. I emailed my resignation the next morning. Never picked up my final check. Asked them to mail it. Months passed. I took temp jobs, warehouse sorting, overnight stocking, always using fake names, always keeping pepper spray in my hoodie pocket. I learned the long way home, doubled back, avoided parking lots. I still see trucks that look like his, rusted, green, quiet, and I don't wait to check anymore. I never told anyone the whole story. There's no report, no arrest. Just this memory, tucked away like a receipt no one wants. I remember the way it felt when no one believed me. How the word awkward replaced danger. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't being watched. It's realizing that once you are, no one will care until something happens. So here's the question I ask you. If you're still listening, what would it take for you to believe someone before it's too late? They never tell you how heavy it feels when your home becomes quiet for the first time in years. Not peaceful quiet, not the kind that comes with a sigh of relief, but a kind of silence that presses down on your chest, makes the walls feel too close. That kind of silence has a weight. And when you're used to living with someone whose moods filled every room before he even opened his mouth, silence doesn't feel safe. It feels uncertain. It feels like something's coming. I had been out of that house for 3 months. I had the paperwork, the court orders, the bruises that finally faded. But no one tells you that freedom doesn't come all at once. It comes in moments. Like when you can finally leave a cabinet door open without worrying someone will slam it shut. Or when you cook what you want without calculating whether it'll piss him off. Or when you wake up and realize you slept through the night. Because your body is still learning that no one's going to come storming into the room at 3 a.m. I moved into a 1-bedroom rental outside Mobile, Alabama. Small but enough. I painted the walls yellow because it felt warm, and got a dog from a rescue, Jasper. A mutt with 2 big ears and a bark that made the mailman jump. He made me feel a little less alone. I built routines, yoga at sunrise, emails over black coffee, groceries every Sunday at 3 p.m. when the store was quiet and predictable. Familiarity made me feel less like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Safety to me wasn't about alarms or fences. It was about knowing what to expect. That Sunday in July, it was hot in a way that made your skin stick to itself. I'd forgotten to grab trash bags and sponges the last time I shopped, so I figured I'd make a quick stop at the Family Dollar a few blocks away. I even made a mental note to pick up one of those fake pine-scented air fresheners I hated because the kitchen trash had been lingering. The parking lot was half empty, a single sun-faded pickup truck parked crooked near the entrance. Inside, the place looked like most small dollar stores do. Understaffed, overstocked in all the wrong aisles. A bored girl with a braid sat behind the counter, her eyes glued to her phone. 2 aisles were blocked off with caution tape, and the lights above flickered like they couldn't make up their minds. I grabbed a red basket and headed toward the cleaning aisle. I didn't notice him right away. He wasn't doing anything obvious. Just standing near the end cap where the air fresheners were. Stocky, maybe late 40s, buzz cut, a faded gray shirt stretched over a sunburned neck. He didn't move when I walked past, didn't pretend to be shopping, just stared. You know that feeling you get when you're being watched? Not the paranoid kind, the real one. The kind that makes the hair on your neck rise, like your body knows before your brain does. That's what I felt. But I'd spent 8 years learning to dismiss feelings like that. Too sensitive, too emotional, overreacting. Words I'd heard on loop. So I turned down the next aisle, sponges and plastic gloves. I kept my head down and my steps even. But then he was there again. Same man, closer now. Still no cart, no items, just pretending to study a wall of paper towels. Then he spoke. Low, slurred. Bet you keep the rest of you clean too. My whole body went rigid. There was no mistaking who he was talking to. I didn't answer, didn't make a sound. Just turned and walked away, fast but not running. I looked up at the ceiling as I neared the front of the store, trying to find the security cameras. None were on. Every little red light was dead. The monitors were black. I felt the heat of him behind me again, not touching me, just near enough. I took a left at the refrigerated section, cutting through the snack aisle to loop back to the front. My chest was tight. I tried to breathe, to focus, but I wasn't in a store anymore. I was back in that house. The hallway outside the bathroom. I didn't stop. I didn't answer. I made it outside and sat in my car with the doors locked, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I wasn't crying. I couldn't. I just felt vacant. I uploaded the video to my private Facebook, captioned it with something long and tired. Not about what he said, but how easy it had been for me to vanish, to be ignored by the cashier, to walk through that entire store and feel like a ghost. I didn't want attention. I just wanted someone to understand what it feels like to survive something and then still not feel safe. I thought maybe a few friends would comment. Instead, messages came. Women I didn't even know. One said he followed her out to her car a few weeks back. Another had seen him loitering outside the store multiple times, just sitting in that same faded truck. One woman messaged me a screenshot of a local police bulletin. His name, his mugshot, prior offenses, misdemeanor harassment. He'd been picked up the next day outside a laundromat a mile away, doing the same thing, just watching. But that didn't fix what broke inside me. A week later, I stood in my kitchen holding an empty paper towel tube and realized I'd rather use napkins than go back to that store. But I made myself. I had to. Because if I didn't, then he still owned a piece of me. The store had a new cashier, young, soft-voiced. She smiled when I walked in. I kept my head up, held my keys like brass knuckles. The man in the next aisle was older, probably harmless, but I still flinched when he passed behind me. I kept scanning for danger, because that's what you do when you've been hunted, even if it was only for a few minutes. At checkout, the girl asked, "You okay, ma'am?" I nodded, lied, paid in cash, drove home. That night I walked Jasper around the block twice. Not because I felt safe, but because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. That fear doesn't get the final word. People say women should be careful, watch their backs, share their location, carry pepper spray. But what if we ask the world not to be the thing we fear in the first place? What does it say about us when survival means just making it to your car without crying? Some people mistake being invisible for being safe. They think it's the quiet ones who are at peace, tucked away from the chaos, left alone by the noise of the world. But isolation isn't safety. It's just a different kind of drowning. And the scariest part, you start to get used to it like it's something you chose. I didn't become invisible overnight. It was a slow, dull grind. I was never good with people. As a kid, I was the quiet one, the strange one, the boy who sat alone during lunch and never raised his hand in class. I didn't know how to talk to kids my age, and after a while they stopped trying. I grew up in the background, watching, listening, learning how to stay unseen. After high school, I drifted, worked at a tire shop for a few months, then a moving company, then janitorial. Nothing ever stuck. People would say things like, "You gotta put yourself out there more," but they didn't understand that I didn't know how. And after a while, I stopped caring. I had Duke. Duke was a German shepherd, loyal like no person I'd ever met. He didn't care that I barely spoke, didn't mind the silences. When I got home from whatever dead-end job I was doing, he'd be waiting at the door, tail wagging like I was the most important person on earth. He was mine and I was his. For 7 years, he kept me whole. Then, that winter before last, he started limping. At first it was subtle, just a pause before he'd leap onto the couch or a favoring of one leg when he'd run. But it got worse, fast. His back legs gave out. He'd drag them behind him on the tile floor. He stopped eating, stopped barking, and that look in his eyes, like he was still trying to be strong for me even though he was slipping away. I held him in my arms when the vet pushed the syringe, watched his eyes close, felt something inside me shatter. The silence after that was different. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that pressed in on your ears like a vacuum. I didn't leave my apartment for almost a year after that. The world felt too loud, too bright, too full of people I couldn't trust, but I had to eat, had to pay rent. I found a flyer taped to the wall in the laundromat near my building. Family Dollar now hiring, mornings only, stock inventory. That was it. No phone interview, no fancy application. Just come in and ask for Mara. I almost didn't go, but I did. Mara was brisk, middle-aged, and wore her stress in the tightness of her ponytail. She asked if I had retail experience. I said no. She asked if I minded early hours. I said no. She looked me up and down and nodded. "Quiet's good," she said. "Gets more done." I started the next day. It was simple work. Shelves, stock, organize, repeat. I liked it. There was rhythm to it. Predictability. Nobody bothered me, and I didn't have to talk unless I wanted to. I got good at zoning aisles, restocking pet food, sweeping behind coolers. Most mornings, I didn't see more than 5 customers before noon. I started to believe maybe I could keep doing this forever. Something small, something quiet. Then came the man in black. It was a gray Tuesday in mid-April. Windy, overcast, the kind of day where everything feels like it's holding its breath. It was around 11:35 when I saw him. Tall, pale, maybe mid-40s, dark jacket, sunglasses inside the store. He wasn't shopping, just standing by the dog treats, staring like he was waiting for something. As I passed, he turned his head slightly. "You look like a dog guy," he said. "German Shepherd, maybe?" I froze. My mouth dried up. "Yeah, I had one. Not anymore." He nodded like he already knew. Stepped closer. "They're prone to spinal issues. Degenerative myelopathy. Starts with the hips, moves up the spine. You can see it coming, but you can't stop it." I stared at him. I hadn't told anyone about Duke, not even Mara. I hadn't spoken his name aloud in months. "You ever wonder why it happened so much?" the man asked, voice low, calm, like they're designed to break. Then he turned and walked out. Didn't buy a thing. I stood there with a can of Alpo in my hand, heart racing. Mara brushed it off. "We get weirdos," she said. "Ignore it." But I couldn't. He came back 2 days later. Same aisle, same silence. Just stood there with his hands in his coat pockets, staring straight ahead. Didn't speak, didn't shop, just waited. I ducked behind the toilet paper display and stayed there until he left. The third time was a Saturday. The store had more customers than usual, and I thought that'd keep him away. It didn't. He stood by the chew toys this time, just close enough that I could see him if I glanced sideways. When our eyes met, he smiled. Not warm, not friendly. Like we shared a joke I didn't get. That night, while closing down, I found something shoved between 2 pet beds. A folded note, no envelope, just a sentence scrawled in tight, slanted handwriting. "Pain has patterns. Some dogs just suffer quieter than others." I didn't sleep. Every sound in my apartment felt like a warning. Pipes creaked like footsteps. I kept the note in the drawer by my bed, couldn't bring myself to throw it out. I checked the locks, twice. Then again. Over the next week, I got worse. Showed up late. Hands trembled when I lifted boxes. My brain couldn't focus. Mara asked if I was okay. I said I was tired. She didn't press. The 5th time I saw him was Thursday. He was outside this time, leaning against the wall just past the entrance, staring through the glass. No sunglasses, just pale gray eyes that looked through me. I turned and walked. Didn't clock in. Didn't say goodbye. I left my apron by the dumpster and didn't look back. That night I packed a duffel bag with the bare minimum. I left a note for the landlord. Took the earliest bus out of Des Moines the next morning. I didn't have a plan, just a way. 2 states over, I found a small town with a diner that rented out rooms upstairs. Paid in cash, took odd jobs, dishwashing, janitor work. I didn't stay long in any place. I didn't make friends. Still, I couldn't shake the fear. Woke up in sweats, heard phantom footsteps, dreamed of Duke, standing in that Family Dollar aisle, legs trembling, stuck in place, just watching me. Sometimes I saw the man's face in dreams. Other times I just heard his voice. They're built to break. 6 months passed, I stopped running. Landed a job at a local animal shelter. Cleaning kennels, mostly. I liked it. Dogs are honest. You know where you stand with them. There's one shepherd, Charlie. Old, slow, with cloudy eyes and shaky legs. I sit with him on my breaks. I talk to him more than I talk to people. Told him about Duke, about the man, about the note I still carry, folded and creased, in my wallet. Pain has patterns. It's true. But healing has them too. You just don't recognize them as easily. I still keep my distance, still feel like I'm half invisible. But I've learned something. Silence doesn't protect you, it isolates you. And loneliness, no matter how familiar, is no shield. The people who survive aren't the ones who vanish. They're the ones who speak, even if their voice shakes, even if no one listens. So here's the question I keep turning over in my head. What happens when you stop ignoring the thing that scares you most and it still finds a way in? They say the worst day of your life doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't wait until you're ready or sober or holding it together. It just shows up, sometimes wrapped in the ordinary, like keys in your hand and a half-finished bottle in the glove box. For me, it came 3 years ago on a cloudless Thursday in October, when I was supposed to pick up my daughter from school. Her name is Harper, 8 years old. She had a gap-toothed grin and wore mismatched socks on purpose. Her laugh, God, her laugh was the kind of sound that made everything else worth enduring. I'd promised her we'd go out for mint chocolate chip ice cream, told her I was turning a corner, that the bad days were behind us, that I was better, that I could be trusted again. But that morning I poured vodka into a coffee cup because the tremors in my hands had come back. Just one to take the edge off, then another, and another. By the time I got to her school, I could barely think straight. I don't remember pulling into the lot. I remember the way the sun hit the dashboard, how the air conditioner clicked like a metronome. Her backpack was in the back seat waiting for her. But she never got in. A flat tire on Central Avenue saved her from seeing me like that. The school called Serena, her mother, when I didn't show. The cops found me slumped over the wheel, engine running. Vodka spilled across the seat. They didn't yell. They didn't need to. My silence did all the talking. I didn't fight when the court took custody. I had nothing to stand on. The months that followed blurred together. I moved into a studio on the edge of Albuquerque, a place where the wind cut through the walls at night. Took the only job I could get, night shift security and stock at a Family Dollar that sat right where the city gave up and the desert took over. The kind of store with flickering ceiling lights and a bathroom you didn't want to step into. It paid enough to eat and not much more. The back office was a windowless box lined with gray filing cabinets no one opened anymore. I spent most nights in front of a wall of old security monitors, half worked. The others played static or blinked out with a soft buzz. The screen burn was so bad every movement left a ghost trail behind it. There was an ashtray on the desk even though we weren't supposed to smoke. Nobody cared. I'd been sober 16 months when it happened. I kept my AA coin in my wallet right behind Harper's old school photo. She had pigtails in that one. I went to meetings when I could. I tried. God, I tried. But nights were the hardest. Just you and the hum of faulty electronics and your past whispering from the corners. Still, I stayed clean. I did my job. And that Sunday night in May started like any other. I clocked in just before midnight, ate a cold sandwich from the vending machine, did my rounds. The place was quiet, aside from a couple late-night regulars and a teenager who tried to pocket a charger. I didn't even report it, just gave him a look and he dropped it. Around 1:30 a.m., I stepped out for a smoke. The wind was up, dry, scraping, carrying dust and a smell like ozone. And that's when I saw the cars. 2 of them parked just outside the light. One was a white SUV, the other a silver sedan. No lights on, no movement at first. Then I saw 3 figures. They were around the SUV's open trunk. One lit a cigarette, another reached in and dragged something out. Heavy, the kind of heavy you don't carry with one hand. I watched from the shadows. My instinct said it was a deal. We'd had that before, drugs, guns, sometimes stolen electronics. But this felt different, the way they stood, the tension in their posture. Then the arguing started. One man shoved another. Loud voices even over the wind, then a blur of motion. Someone lunged. Another man dropped. Not fell. Dropped. Fast. Limbs loose, crumpling like a puppet whose strings had been cut. The kind of drop your body doesn't fake. I froze. My cigarette hit the pavement. I bolted back inside, heart thudding against my ribs like a warning. The backup phone was dead. Of course it was. I grabbed my cell and called 911. "I think I just saw a stabbing," I told them. "Family Dollar on Central. 2 cars. A white SUV and a silver sedan. They were parked behind the store. One guy's down." The operator asked for my name, the address, any identifying features. I rattled off what I could, voice cracking. I peeked out the back window as I spoke. The silver sedan was already gone. The police got there in minutes. I met them out front and led them around back. The white SUV was still there, trunk wide open. Inside was a red-streaked tarp. Blood smeared the lining and dripped along the bumper, disappearing into the dirt. No body, no weapons, just silence and that damned wind. I brought them to the office, showed them the camera feed. The angle was bad, lighting worse. The lot light had blown out 2 nights earlier. Nobody had come to fix it. All the footage showed were silhouettes. One figure moved fast, another collapsed, then 2 shapes fled. No plates, no faces, no sound. "Could have been a fight," one officer muttered. "No," I said. "He didn't just fall. He dropped. Something happened." They nodded, took notes, marked the area with tape. A tech dusted the SUV. They found 1 latex glove, a cigarette butt with lipstick on the filter, a torn piece of fabric, that was it. They said it might be gang-related. Maybe someone owed the wrong person money. They left before dawn. I stayed in that office until the sun rose. Couldn't go home. Couldn't stop thinking about it. The way it happened so fast. The silence that followed. Not even a scream. Just the sound of a man's life ending like it meant nothing. I called out the next night. Took a few days. On Thursday, I tried to put on my uniform. Just stared at it. The collar smelled like coffee and regret. I couldn't bring myself to wear it again. By the end of the month, I left Albuquerque, packed up what little I owned, moved south, found a room above a gas station motel off Route 6. The kind of place people pass without looking twice. Darren, the manager, handed me a mop and said, "Lobby's yours if you want the room." It was enough. I haven't gone back since. Sometimes I wonder about that man, who he was, whether someone's still looking for him, if he left behind a daughter, a mother, or maybe he was the kind of person the world gave up on. Like me once. I kept Officer Ramirez's card in my wallet for a while, folded behind my coin, just in case they called. They didn't. Now I clean floors, wipe down vending machines, go to Tuesday night AA and sit in the back. I still say Harper's name when I'm alone. I imagine her drawing or dancing in the kitchen or just growing up somewhere I'll never see. I hope she's okay. I hope she doesn't remember me how I was. It's been a year and 9 months sober. I still crave sometimes. Still hear the wind outside my window and feel the weight of that night. Still wonder if I could have done something, anything. But I didn't. I ran. That's what breaks me most. Not the violence, not the blood, but the fact that when it happened, I froze. I didn't save anyone. I didn't scream. I didn't stop it. People talk about trauma like it's always loud, but sometimes it's a whisper, a breath between moments, a silence that stays long after the moment is gone. You don't always remember the noise, but you never forget the stillness. I'm not proud of who I was. I'm not sure I'm proud of who I am, but I'm sober. I show up. I clean the floor. I breathe. That's what I've got. And maybe that's enough. What would you do if the worst moment of your life didn't sound like a scream but a whisper? And once you heard it, could you ever live the same again? They say people don't really change. Maybe they just become more of who they already were. I used to believe that. Not anymore. Not after what happened last February. My name's Isa Martinez, 31. Grew up in Roanoke. I've worked at Family Dollar on Jefferson Street for 6 years. It's the kind of job most people overlook. Not glamorous, not something you brag about at parties, if you even get invited to them, but it paid the bills. And more than that, it gave me structure. Something to rely on. Something steady after everything else fell apart. Riley was the first man I ever pictured a future with. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party in Danville. He was magnetic in that easy way, the kind of guy who made you feel seen in a crowded room. I was 26 and still healing from a string of bad decisions dressed up like relationships. Riley felt different. We moved in together within 7 months. A one-bedroom apartment on Gordon Street with creaky stairs and mismatched windows. He'd play guitar in the evenings, barefoot, always a half-empty coffee mug on the floor beside him. There were good days, great ones even, but great doesn't cancel out the quiet unease that started to creep in by year 2. He'd go dark for hours, sometimes overnight. No explanation. Just a shrug or a half-lie when he came back. I wasn't stupid. I saw the messages, the lipstick on the shirt once, the sudden need for space. But love does a thing to you. It makes you rationalize, forgive too quickly, silence your instincts. I thought if I just held on, things would settle. Instead, one afternoon 5 months ago, I came home from work and everything of his was gone. Shoes, laptop, the black duffel he always kept half-packed. Every photo of us was missing off the fridge. All that remained was the spare key sitting alone on the counter. No note, no voicemail, just absence. I didn't fall apart the way people expect. I folded in, picked up more shifts, scrubbed aisles that didn't need scrubbing, pushed myself into routine like it was a life raft. Valentine's season rolled around and the store turned into a parade of pink, plastic roses, stuffed bears with voice boxes, chocolate boxes that looked fancy but tasted cheap. It made me nauseous. Love, I told myself, was just marketing. That Monday morning around 9:30, I was restocking the laundry aisle when I heard the bell above the door. Reflex made me look up, and there he was, Riley, just standing near the entrance. Same denim jacket, same old boots, but his eyes were wrong. The spark I remembered wasn't there. What replaced it was distant, almost dead. He didn't come inside, just stared at me for a second, then turned and walked away. I didn't chase him. I just stood there, gripping a bottle of Tide like it was an anchor. A full minute passed before I moved again. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my ribs. An hour later, an elderly woman approached the counter to return a ring. Said her granddaughter didn't like it. Small, cheap-looking. I almost let it go, until I remembered that we hadn't sold that ring. The only one sold that morning was a locked case special. $180, fake diamond, big box kind of shimmer. I pulled the footage, and there he was. Riley, hoodie up, standing behind her. He paid in cash. Didn't look at the camera. She did the talking. I filed a report, told my district manager. Everyone said not to jump to conclusions, but it wasn't coincidence, it was a message. Riley knew I'd see it. He wanted me to. The next morning I found a note under my windshield, folded once. No envelope, just 5 words in his handwriting. Should have kept your mouth shut. Underneath that, smaller, some things aren't meant to be returned. I didn't go to work that day. Couldn't. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. It wasn't fear in the way people imagine. It was something slower, paralyzing, the kind that wraps around your spine and tightens when you're alone. That night I barely slept. Every creak in the wall sounded like a threat. I checked my locks twice, 3 times, sat with my back against the door. Tuesday morning I showed up to work anyway, told myself I was being paranoid, told myself I needed the hours. The store was slow. Miss Penny from the laundromat came in, bought paper towels. A teenage boy tried to buy a vape cartridge with food stamps. I was fixing shelf tags near the pharmacy when I saw him again. Riley. This time he walked inside like he owned the place. No hoodie, just that damn denim jacket. He scanned the room like he was inventorying it. Then his eyes met mine. He smiled. "Miss this place," he said, like he was talking about an old vacation spot. "Still feels like home." I swallowed. Hard. "You need to leave." He took a step closer. "You still lock your window at night?" His voice was soft. Too soft, like a lullaby with knives in it. My hand slid under the counter, found the panic button, pressed it. He smiled again, then walked out. No hurry. Like he had all the time in the world. The police came. Officer Tolman listened this time, took down everything, the note, the footage, the return scam. He didn't shrug it off. "This guy's trying to get in your head," he said. "Next time, call right away." I didn't go home. Slept at my cousin Gina's house. Spent most of the night staring at her ceiling fan. His words kept circling. "You still lock your window?" He hadn't been inside in months. How would he know? Unless he'd already come back, and I hadn't noticed. That thought was poison. It leaked into everything. I started checking behind the shower curtain, under my bed. I put a chair under the doorknob, double-locked every window, bought a baseball bat I kept by my nightstand. I was surviving, not living. By Friday, my district manager finally called back, told me to take some time, said they'd cover the shifts. I agreed, even though I didn't want to be alone. I started spending mornings at the diner on 15th Street, sat near the front window, drank terrible coffee just to be around people. I hated how much Riley still owned me. I wasn't the person I used to be. I was flinching shadows, waiting for footsteps. Saturday morning, I was brushing my teeth when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but I did. "Ms. Martinez, this is Officer Tolman. We picked up someone loitering behind the Family Dollar dumpster." I stopped breathing. "Was it him?" "Yeah, name's Riley. We found a bag with him. Zip ties, a hunting knife, pepper spray." My knees buckled. I sat down on the floor. "He said he was looking for cans," Tolman said. "But we're not buying it. He's in custody. Stalking, harassment, possible intent to commit a violent crime. We'll keep you updated." I hung up and cried in the shower until the water ran cold. Not from fear, from shame. I let him in. I ignored the signs. I told myself it wasn't that bad. They offered to transfer me. New store, 2 towns over. I said yes before they finished the sentence. I gave notice on the apartment, found a small 1-bedroom near the new store, installed extra locks, bought an alarm keychain, changed my number, burned every photo. "It's been 8 months, Riley pled out. Got probation, therapy, a no-contact order. But paper doesn't stop memories. Some nights I swear I hear his boots on the stairs. Other nights, I dream he's beside me whispering. I went on 1 date since. He asked why I was always checking my phone. Why I insisted on public places. I couldn't explain. Not in a way that made sense, because it wasn't about him. It was about the version of me Riley broke. People ask why I'm still scared. I tell them the truth. Because monsters don't always wear masks. Sometimes they know how you take your coffee. They know which window sticks. They know where you keep the spare key. I changed everything. But fear has a memory. And not every goodbye means you're safe. What would you do if the person you once loved became the person you feared most?